Welcome to episode 221 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. Recording this episode on Friday the 13th of September 2024. 1:11 p.m. Actually just got back from a whole morning of community yard sales, which is an appropriate send-off to this week because this was a whole week of buying and selling with some organizing thrown in there too, and we'll talk all about that. But before we do, we've got to rewind the tape because that's what we do here. We go all the way back to last Saturday when I woke up in the morning all excited to go to the flea market that happens once a year, only to find out that it was pouring outside, and I was instantly upset. But I was like, well, today's a write-off, and that's pretty much the way it was going to go until I got a phone call from Pap at like 11 o'clock in the morning, and he says, hey, I just looked at the forecast, and it looks like the rest of the day is actually going to be pretty clear. You want to go to the flea market? And I said, absolutely, I do. So we hopped in the car and we went out there. And by the time we got to the flea market, I kid you not, it was the most beautiful and perfect day you can imagine. The sun was out, puffy white clouds, a little bit of a breeze, not hot at all, not cold. It was just miraculous. Not only that, but we had a great time at the flea market. This is where the buying portion comes in because I ended up finding some scores out there. I went with the intention of hunting toys and video games. That's my thing. I'm looking for like 90s toys, stuff that takes me back to my childhood, stuff that I can list on my eBay store, stuff that I can just enjoy, any kind of games and stuff like that, especially old stuff I'm into. And boy, when I say old stuff, I found some old stuff because there was this box at this one booth that happened to have an Atari 2600 in it with 6 games, and the guy was asking $40. Pap, of course, jumped in instantly and negotiated it down to 30 for me, and I ended up buying it. So I got myself an Atari 2600 and 6 games, one of which is the worst game of all time. We're talking about E.T. for the Atari, and there was 5 other ones in there. There was 2 controllers, 2 paddle controllers, and the original owner's manual, which was amazing. We asked the guy if it worked, and spoiler alert, it actually did, because later this week I actually tested that out along with the Atari 7800 that I got for $5 at the yard sales earlier this year. That works. The 2600 works. All the games worked. The other games that I got from the random yard sale with the one game that was worth $100 called Hero in there worked. It was just wins from all around. So I went way back in time to the world of Atari. It was actually my very first time ever playing Atari. When I started playing video games, it was December 25th, 1990. I was 5 years old, about to turn 6, when my parents got me the NES play set that had the console, 2 controllers. This is back when you used to get a lot of stuff when you bought a console. Now you're lucky to get a controller. You got the console, you got 2 controllers, you got the Zapper, you got Mario and Duck Hunt, 2 games with it. And it was like, it was my life until the Sega Genesis came out. And then I was just like in that life, which was interesting because most kids, I think, transitioned to Super Nintendo, but my babysitter's kid had the Sega Genesis. So of course I needed that, and no regrets because Sonic 2, let me just say Sonic 2, that's the game I got with that. It was a great time growing up in the 90s. I'll tell you that. And I think that's why I'm always trying to go back there. That's why I'm trying to collect these things, including sports cards. I've been getting like heavily into 90s basketball stuff. The algorithms have found me out, and I've been watching people open up basketball card packs, and I made a few acquisitions on eBay this week too, which I'll be sharing in future episodes. I'm getting back into the card scene. I think I may have talked about that last week a little bit. Like I did a video showcasing my childhood card collection, and I'm like, I love it. I really do, and I want to get back into it. So I think I'm up to, I bought 4 cards now, including the most expensive card I think that I've ever bought in my life. It was $15 plus shipping. I think actually maybe it's a little bit more. It came out to almost $20 after it was all said and done. So I've got a $20 card, but it's a very interesting one. It's one with a story, and that's how I'm trying to collect. I'm not collecting things because they're like PSA 10s or like they're super valuable. It's stuff that has a story or something that's meaningful to me, including another card that I got that I thought of a whole series that I could do on it, and I'm just like excited about it. I don't know if the card enthusiasts are out there, but I did notice, this is interesting. Like I've said before, when I make videos, the audience is all over the place because I do so many different things, but the people always seem to find me, and I'm starting to find the card enthusiasts are starting to come out. So I'm like, okay, we might have something here. I can share. I don't have any fear of sharing the things that I want to share and that I'm interested in with an audience that I think may not like that because they have the choice. They can choose not to watch it. But I know that the people that will be interested in that or are maybe are inclined to be interested in that will find it. The YouTube algorithm gods know what they're doing. Maybe not as good as TikTok. TikTok, they're at a whole nother level, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But YouTube, they're still pretty good. So, anyways, back on track there, all the way back to Saturday. We had a great day. It was wonderful. Budman he didn't buy anything. He just got himself a hot sausage, which I think that actually made his day. Clarkman got a score too. He ended up getting a Pokemon figure for $10. That was actually a pretty good deal. And then I found Xbox games, like original Xbox games for $1 a piece, which is yard sale prices. So I bought 10 of those, and then I got a PlayStation 3 game for $3. And I found a couple little Thomas toys too. There was actually a bunch of various toys there. Nothing that really like sparked my interest. I didn't really find much Lego to speak of. There were a couple like little bulk bags that they're selling like 3 for $10, a couple overpriced sets, and that was about it. In terms of retro gaming, I think that's like retro gaming these days might actually be like Wii, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, because that's about as far back as everything went. The only other thing that I saw that was even like close to the Atari in age was a guy selling a Nintendo NES, like I was talking about earlier, and he was selling that for $100 with like 3 games. So I felt like I got quite the bargain on the Atari. I don't think the nostalgia is there. Maybe like the Atari people are a little bit too old to be, and this is no offense to anyone, but I think they're a little bit too old to be going back in time to play that. The Nintendo audience is there, and I imagine if you did have Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64, GameCube, I didn't see any of that stuff, but that stuff's super hot, and maybe that's already sold. That probably went on eBay, so I don't know if I'll ever find stuff like that there again. I remember one year I bought Journey to Silius, which is a Nintendo game that I love. I bought the Batman Nintendo game there. And they just don't exist anymore, and it makes me sad. And I got even more sad when I started thinking about the future. Like we're talking way off in the future, where they don't even make game discs anymore. Like you can kind of tell the manufacturers are going that way. Like the PlayStation 5 Pro was announced for $700. No one's going to buy it. Plus, it doesn't have a disc drive, which is important to some people. I mean, it's important to me because I like to own my stuff. Some people, though, they view putting their stuff on disc as an inconvenience, in the same way that, like, why would you load up a DVD when you can watch Netflix, you know? But I want to own it and like maybe potentially sell it in the future, collect it, have it. All that's very important to me. I like physical media. So for that reason, if I ever have the opportunity to buy a physical game, I do. That being said, maybe 20 years from now, like say Clarkman's grown up and he's my age, I guess that'd be more like 30 years from now, the flea market won't have any video games because they're just digital. They'll have hard drives full of games. Maybe you'll buy like a thumb drive or something with Gran Turismo on it, and you can buy that and then plug it into whatever system. But it'll all be cloud then. It'll be cloud gaming, and you'll have a controller. You'll be able to play video games on anything that has a screen, which will be pretty cool, I guess. But man, there's something, I'm telling you, there's something about the time that I grew up that like video games were just so special, at least to me. Maybe you grew up then and you never played a game and couldn't care less about video games, and that's understandable. But for me, it's like that's definitely a path that I'm going down, and it was cool to kind of try the Atari out and see what that was like and play some of the games. I will say there's definitely a learning curve with some of those. Like I'm trying to play Pitfall and like just trying to swing on the vine thing and jump off of it. I don't know if the controller's acting up or what, but I'm having a heck of a time trying to make that move. So I have some practicing to do in the world of Atari, and maybe we'll share some of that here and there. That being said, I'm still banned from streaming on Greg's Arcade. I sent a message to YouTube, and they basically just said, because Clarkman was doing a live stream, which I'm aware of why it was shut down. He was doing a live stream, and I wasn't actively like in the shot with him. My ability to live stream has been like removed. So I sent them a message back and I said, is this temporary or is it permanent? If it's temporary, how long? If it's permanent, is there anything I can do to get it reinstated? No response. So I might have to like go through the whole process again. I've given them like 6 days, and it's like YouTube customer service may actually be the worst. It could be. So we'll see what comes of that. I'm not really too heartbroken on it. I feel like if I'm going to do any kind of gaming, I might just set up my system to record it. And I like to upload like regularly scheduled intervals of gameplay of whatever it is. I think that would be kind of cool. Or maybe I just give up Greg's Arcade all entirely and throw some of that gameplay stuff up on Greg's World. Because again, I feel like the audience there might actually like that. You see me buying all these games, you might want to see me playing some of them too without having to go to another channel. I've had people tell me I need to start another channel for my sports card stuff, and I'm like, no more channels for me. It's ride or die at this point with Greg's World and Brickitect, which has been getting a little quiet lately because I've been so focused on the next segment of our episode here, which is Greg versus the Storage Room of Doom, also known as Greg's Collection in some corners. I mentioned this last week, I think. This has been going on for about 2 weeks now that I've been actively working in the storage room, trying to get things organized. Well, what are we doing? We're documenting, organizing, playing with, selling, or throwing away. Those are the categories of things that can happen in there. And I've been working hard at doing that, including on Monday, I did a dive into the Acro Mills world. Some of you enthusiasts of Lego Bricklink selling may know of these Acro Mills drawers. And I was looking for a place or ability to store all of these various nuts, bolts, screws, nails, all this hardware stuff that I had in boxes and coffee cans and little containers and stuff. Some of it came from like yard sales or estate auctions. Some of it was just like you do a little project where you build a shelf and then they give you extra stuff that goes with it, or you don't build it right potentially and you got extra stuff with it and you throw those in a jar and then that jar fills up, sort of like your change container in your house. Like, you know, you have some change in your pocket, you throw it in there and eventually it fills up. This is where I was at. And I was like, I want this organized. I want to clear that space and I want to make it so I can just have like these little drawers where if I need a bolt, for example, when am I going to need one? Maybe never. But if I need a bolt, I want to be able to pull out a drawer and get it. So I bought one of these Acro Mills container sets on Amazon and I spent a good portion of my day on Monday loading that baby up. And it actually turned out really nicely. I'm super happy with how it looks. It saved a bunch of space. I got rid of a whole bunch of like packaging that like you had like nails in a box here. And then I had like screws in this little plastic container. And I got rid of all of that. And it felt so good. I'm telling you, I've been preaching this, I think, pretty much this entire year. And if you're not sold yet, you need to be. If you have something in your life that's not serving you, it's time to let it go, unless it's something you really love, which we'll talk about later, because that was the question of the week last week. What's something in your life that you own now, maybe haven't used in a long time, maybe will never use again, but you still hold on to it because you love it? We'll talk about your answers to that. But that was kind of where I was on Tuesday, talking about getting rid of the things in your life that aren't serving you. I made a big push on Tuesday to list all of my stuff on eBay that I had gotten from the yard sales this year. I just had a pile of stuff that I was really like just being a procrastinator on because I deem this stuff as like stuff that probably wouldn't sell. And I'm just like, I didn't really feel like even listening because it was just like, nobody's going to want that. Well, I decided that I would do a 2-for-1 attack here where I'd make a video listing this stuff, but also do essentially a tutorial on how to get started on eBay and how to list things and show people how easy it is. Not that eBay's paying me to do it or I don't work for them, wish I did. But I was like, this is how easy it is to sell stuff, with the push that like, hey, you probably have a storage room of doom yourself, or at least you have somewhere, you have a drawer that has crap in it that you don't use anymore. And believe it or not, there's probably a person in this world that probably wants that thing that you have. In fact, there was one item that I listed. It was this grungy old Oscar the Grouch that I got from the 1970s, well loved, if you will. And I got it for like 25 cents. And it seemed like kind of special to me. But when I got it home, I was like, that was probably a dumb purchase. Well, right before I started this podcast today, that baby sold for $13. So there you go. Something that I thought would never sell. As they say, one man's junk is another man's treasure. And I spent like all day listing this stuff and started making some sales. But not only that, I went into the sales or the items that I have on there currently, and I started revising the prices because everything I had on there had been listed and sitting there for a long time. And I'm not in the business to have a huge inventory. I'm in the business of selling stuff. So I dropped prices on a bunch of things and all of a sudden, like they just started selling. Like it's amazing if you drop the price of something by like $5. Like so I had this camera that was like $90. I dropped that down to like 80. Boom, sold. I had a Kindle, bought by a viewer of the channel. It was $20. I put it at 15, sold. I sold like 2 other things. So I had like 4 items going out that very next day just because I went in and like managed the prices a little bit. So I always recommend doing that too. Like list your stuff on eBay. You don't have to be like super aggressive with your pricing. Like just put it on there, see if anybody bites. And if they don't, drop it by $1. Put a best offer on it. Maybe somebody will bite on it, and eventually they do. But I'm at the point now where there's some things that have been sitting in there for a long time this year that I literally can't go any lower. Like if I sell it for any less, I'm going to lose money on it. So I think I'm just going to pull those from the store, and that gets donated. That's pretty much where I'm at now with a lot of things. Like if I find stuff that doesn't work for my store, or like I have a bunch of Happy Meal toys that like I kind of went through. I'm donating all those because there might be somebody out there that would enjoy that. There's kids that may go to the American Rescue Workers with their parents and they see a Happy Meal toy, and hopefully they don't charge them an arm and a leg like certain Wills of Goodnesses would do, and people can get stuff for super cheap. Because that's what I want. I'm just like giving it away. There's no sense throwing something away that somebody might want. So I did that with a lot of the hardware stuff that I had. Like once my drawers are filled up, in fact, I have 64 drawers. I probably still have like maybe 15 of them that are empty. I'm like, I don't need any more of these screws. So we'll let those go, or I'll give them to Budman, put them in his yard sale, whatever. I just need them out of here because we're making space in the storage room of doom. So I was very happy about all that. What I wasn't so happy with was the Apple event on Monday. Well, in the time I was like, as I was actually watching the Apple event while I was putting all this stuff in drawers. And of course, Tim Cook was getting me all hyped up on the new iPhone 16 Pro. I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro for 2 years now. I usually, like every year, I get very excited because I'm like, what are they going to do with the cameras this year? That's the most important thing to me. I shoot a lot of my videos for Greg's World with my phone when I'm out and about in the world because it's super convenient, it's discreet, and it does a really good job. Like I've had people ask me like, hey, what camera are you using for this? My iPhone, my 2-year-old iPhone. In fact, you could go much older than that and it would look pretty darn similar because we're pretty much we've stagnated when it comes to advancements in phones and cameras. Like they're just trying to do anything they can to say it's somewhat better so they can sell a new one. And I'm not like at the time I was like super impressed. Like I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. They did a better wide angle camera, at least has more megapixels, better or not to be determined. But I was like, I use that camera lens a lot and it's going to have USB-C, which I don't really care about. They're really pushing this Apple AI, which I really don't care about. It's all, for me, it's about the cameras and about the battery life. I also like the idea that I can do a 5X, which was on the iPhone 15 Pro Max last year, but I don't like the Max phones because I don't have like cargo actually these shorts do, cargo pockets to put my stuff. And I have it with me all the time, which is why I'm kind of like justifying the idea of upgrading. It's like, this is the item I use more than anything in my life. Like it's always with me. It actually, like, of all the people that upgrade, like I actually make money using it. You know, like how many videos on Greg's World were produced using this phone? Hundreds. And it's probably worth it for me to upgrade, but I decided today actually was the pre-order day. And I decided that I'm just going to hold off and wait for all of the reviewers to get their stuff. And I want to see how dramatically different is the camera versus they're going to compare it to the 15. So let's see how different it is. And if it's enough to justify spending the money on it, because they're going to give, I think it's $400 as a trade-in, and it's $1,100 phone. So we're talking like $700 when it's all said and done. Is there going to be $700 of difference there? My heart and my mind are both in agreement, and they say no. In fact, there's probably not even $200 of difference there. But, well, maybe my mind says it, but my heart's like, oh, Greg, it'd be so great having a brand new phone. But will I even notice it? It's like the same thing. And I'm just so bummed. Same thing happened with the GoPro 13 when it came out. It's like the same darn thing. That only leaves me with the Osmo Action 5. And I was hoping that they would basically take the internals of the Osmo Pocket 3, a camera I really love, and put it in an action camera. It doesn't look like they're doing that. All these companies, it's just like, we're going to push the line forward by a millimeter and we're going to release a new product. In fact, so many people were in the comments of all the videos that I was kind of watching the recap of the Apple event. They said this could have been an email. But, you know, they get on there. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever. This is the biggest, the fastest, the thinnest, the whatever. And it's like, well, I would hope so. You've had a year to innovate and like you haven't really done anything. That being said, for all fairness, and I know if you're not an Apple fanboy, you're probably like cheering this on right now. You're not supposed to upgrade your phone every year. Like they make an iPhone 16 Pro for somebody that has like an iPhone 12 or 13, or if you have a 10 or a 4, and then you're like, you were blown away by the improvements, and you would be. If you upgrade every year, that's just not going to happen, I guess. But I just want technology to move faster. And I'm like, why are we on the iPhone 16? Why aren't we on the next thing yet? Like if Steve Jobs was still around, he was like, I know he was a giant jerk in real life. I don't think there's any debating that. But it's like, if he had not passed away, where would we be technology wise right now? Would he have innovated something else? Because like all we have now, we've got iPhones, bigger iPhones. We've got tiny little iPhones we have on our wrists. We got even bigger iPhones that we call iPads. And we've got iPads with keyboards that we call MacBooks. And like, we got a bunch of headphones. What I guess you could say the Vision Pro is the next big thing, but man, they really need to get the price of that down and actually make people realize like there's some value in owning it. It's going to be I think an uphill battle, but it'll eventually happen probably. I'm just looking for a pair of glasses that I put on that look like a normal pair of glasses that have like a heads up display that show me everything I want to see. Like I go to the yard sales today and I start looking at stuff. I want it to pop up eBay, show me the prices. I think that would be amazing. And maybe we'll get there someday. I'm just like, I'm living in the present, but wishing I was in the future in some ways. Sometimes I want to be in the past. That's the interesting thing. Like I want to live in this world where I have the Apple glasses, but I also want to live in the world where I'm playing Nintendo and like all of the stuff that's going on in the world doesn't exist. It's like, what do they call it? Having your cake and eating it too. I want to have the best of everything. But anyways, let's move on to the next day. I don't know where we're at here. Probably like on, we still have Tuesday night here, which that was the night that Clark and I ended up opening. Speaking of going back to the past, we opened up my starting lineup action figures. These figures that I've had sealed now for darn near 30 years. I collected them and like I came across them in my card collection when I made the video on that. And I looked these things up and they have like no value. Like the Allen Iverson that I saved from 1997, which was his rookie year, it literally someone bought it for $3 on eBay with $5 shipping. The person made $2 off of it. So I said, you know what? Let's open all these up and enjoy them. And Clark and I made a little video where we were like sharing that experience, and it was awesome. It was the most fun that I've had with those things in 30 years. And I'm so happy that I got to do that and experience with my son. That being said, part of my little eBay hunting this week, I bought some more starting lineup action figures, and it was a lot of them, and I couldn't believe how cheap it was. I was watching it and like debating it. The guy sent me an offer for less, and I was like, okay. So they came out to less than $2 each. Plus, I only had to pay shipping one time. So there's some in there. There's one in particular that I really, really want, and then a few other ones that I'm not like stoked on. So I might just relist them and probably make my money back just on like one or two. It was kind of wild that they let those go that cheap, but big win for me. We'll talk about that next week because I think they're on their way here right now, along with some other cards and stuff that I bought. Gosh, it's a dangerous place getting into cards. Like it's got me wanting to open boxes and stuff, and I'm watching people open up these early 90s basketball boxes, but then I go to buy one on eBay and I find out they're like sometimes like $100 because there's a certain Michael Jordan card in there, the potential to get a rookie, and I'm just like, I just want to like have the experience of opening them. And I'm not like interested in modern sports. I just want like the early, I want like 1990 to like 95, 96. That's what I'm interested in right there. Because that's when I was young and I was into that kind of stuff. Also, I started watching some old basketball games on YouTube, which there's surprisingly a lot of them. If there's a team that you like, they probably have some games on there. You could go back and like pretend that it's happening live. So that's pretty neat. But on Tuesday, I ended up, was it Tuesday? No, it was Wednesday. We finished off Tuesday, and I kind of have my outline here because I did so much this week. Like Greg's collection, aka Greg versus Storage Room of Doom, videos are popping off, dude. Whether anyone's watching them or not, pretty much not. Like they're failing miserably, as I mentioned. The audience I have right now is not liking what I'm doing, but I'm not making this for them. I'm making it for me and the people in the future. Like I envision within like a 12-month time frame here, I think my entire audience is probably going to age up maybe 20 to 30 years probably. But I'm going to lose all those youngsters, and that's okay. They come along for the journey if they want to, but like I'm noticing it. Like there's more of me on there now in the viewership than before. So we'll see what comes of it. We'll see what happens. But on Wednesday, I like to call this day my lucky day. Ended up going I had to go to Lowe's because I was getting some weed and feed for the yard. And there's a post office like not too far away. And I need to drop off all that stuff that I sold because I lowered the prices and made the sales. So I went to the post office, and like literally a couple doors down from the post office is the thrift store. I've been to this thrift store a few times, have never found anything there. Something was telling me I should go and check. I'm here. So I go in and like look around, nothing there, of course. But then I get to the back where all the CDs and stuff are. And I'm like, maybe they have some games here. They don't have games. They have one game. And it's a Sega CD game called, what was it even called? Tomcat Alley. It's like a F-16 style, like a fighter jet style game. What's one that I liked from my childhood? What's that Sega one? Sugar Shack. Afterburner, I think is what it's called. Anyways, that was there. And I'm like, holy smokes. The Sega CD game, I've never seen one of these in real life before. I've never had the Sega CD, which is like an attachment that goes on the Genesis. It makes a bizarre setup when you connect that. And then there's a Sega 32X. Like the Sega Genesis becomes a monstrosity if you add all this stuff on. But Sega CD never had, but now I have a Sega CD game, which I'm going to sell. I got it for, I think it was $2. It's worth like $15. But while I was there were some books there. And I noticed one book was the book Willow, which is there's a movie that Cody really loves called Willow. We watched it all together as a family, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They have a book on it. And I was like, let me just look it up. It's like a $20 book. It was like 99 cents. I'm like, all right. Then I saw this CD that reminded me of Bam Margera. If you remember him from like early 2000s, Jackass. If you watched MTV in the early 2000s, you know who Bam Margera is. And he loved this band called Him. And they had one of their CDs there. And I'm like, let me look it up. It's like an $8 to $10 CD, and it was $1 or $2. So I ended up spending like $6 that day, and I got probably $30 of value out of it at the thrift store that I would have never even gone to. Because it's like, why would I go here? I've never find anything. But that's why you can never say never, because you never know. You can never say never because you never know. Is that enough nevers in a sentence? I think so. After that, I was like, all right, I'm on a hot streak here. Let me go over to Walmart and check out the clearance there. Didn't really have much Lego, but they did have the little Animal Crossing poly bag for $3 instead of $5. So I bought 2 of those and a couple other little things. Nothing too crazy, but I was feeling good. Then I had one last trip to make, and that was to drop off a return for Cody at TJ Maxx because it's been sitting here forever. I'm like, all right, I'll just drop it off my way through. I looked through there and I found a cool Life is Good shirt for $13, usually $28. I was just winning left and right on Wednesday. So that's a whole video. I'm going to edit that up. That should be out like this week. I've got a backlog of videos now. I'm recording and doing so much stuff that it's getting a little crazy. Like these videos are 15, 20, 30 minutes long. I think the card video is like 30 minutes long. The video today is like 15 minutes long. I just finally got the flea market edited today. So that's how far behind we are. Today was Saturday's video. That luckily since we'll go back in time here a little bit before I take you into like finishing out this week, which I should say Thursday was just me testing the Ataris. I did all of that, but I also pressure washed. I like to say this. I played Pressure Washer Simulator in real life. I pressure washed our entire deck and it looks amazing. I did not film it. I probably should have because I know the people that love satisfying stuff would have loved that. Like I'm getting like all the green algae off the deck and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Going down each board, like getting it real close and like you see it turning gray again and it's just, we have like a composite deck, so it looks amazing. So I was happy about that. So that was my Thursday, and then it takes us today, which I'll talk about more. But let's go back to Sunday, my lazy day. I actually felt guilty on Sunday. After the amazing day Saturday, Sunday morning, I'm just chilling on the couch. And I get on TikTok, and then the algorithm god found me. And they must have realized I love 90s basketball, and I love video games. And they're like, do you like both of those together? And I'm like, yes, I do. So they started showing me these videos of this guy that's playing the NBA 2K series, but he's doing this thing called Eras, where essentially you can take over an NBA team in 1982. And instead of actually playing through the games, you play as the GM and you're managing the roster and contracts of players and coaches and taking your team from 1982 essentially to like the present and making like moves and roster changes and stuff with knowing like what's coming. Like, you know, in 2003, you want to have the number 1 pick so you can get LeBron James. You know that like Patrick Ewing's going to dominate. You know Michael Jordan's going to be amazing. Like, you know all these things. And like most teams, like when you go into a draft, sometimes you think a player is going to be really good and they turn out to be a bust. In fact, I want to do a card series, write this down, where I collect the biggest busts of the NBA. So like Greg Oden comes to mind. He was drafted right before Kevin Durant, I believe. And I'm sure you probably know who Kevin Durant is. You may not know who Greg Oden is. That's because it didn't work out for him. So like going into that draft, you may have taken Greg Oden in real life, but knowing what you know now, you're like, I'm taking Kevin Durant and we're going to win like 30 championships in a row with him because I just stacked the entire roster because I traded away draft picks when the draft year sucked and I got Kobe Bryant, and it's pretty cool to see. And I just like, this guy's like making these little short videos where he's going through all of these simulations year after year after year, and I like watched that for like 3 hours. I'm very embarrassed to admit it. Cody, in fact, she asked if I was okay because I was still on the couch, like covered up with the blankie with my iPad. It was kind of a glorious thing because like the reason she asked is that I never take time off. I'm never not doing something. I'm never not doing something. And that was different for me. It was like kind of crazy just to lay there like half the day basically and do nothing. That being said, I got to work after that down here in the studio cleaning things up. But I enjoyed that a lot. That was my rabbit hole of the week. And I actually re-downloaded NBA 2K24, I think I have. I re-downloaded it so I can try that myself. I'd like to go through and see if I can manage a team properly and do all the contracts and stuff like that. But he does like challenges too, where it's like you can't take any number one draft picks. You can't trade up in the draft. You have to take like the Cavaliers, which are like the worst team, and try to give them 10 championships in 30 years. It's all kind of cool. And I know like you probably have zero interest in this, but I like it spoke to me, and it just, I'm like down this path of like 90s basketball, which is almost unavoidable now between the starting lineups and the cards and the collecting and all that. I'm just like, I'm having fun. So let me go. That being said, the world of Lego, if we're making that a topic, I haven't literally done anything with Lego this week outside of buying those few polybags. So we could probably do a polybag Wednesday, but Wednesday is come and gone, my friends. Not Greg's Arcade. That's shut down, at least temporarily. Greg's collection is just kind of taken over my life. And it's a good thing because I'm actually getting things accomplished. And you can literally see that in the videos as they come out. And it's been nice to see the few people that actually do watch those. They seem to really be enjoying them, at least from the comments I've seen. So that gets us caught up to today. I think I pretty much told you literally everything that I did this week, and like most of it you'll see in videos, which makes me question why I even sit down and do this. Because like if you're just a little more patient, you could watch all the videos, but maybe you'd rather just listen to me talk about it. Because in 30 minutes now, I've pretty much saved you from watching everything. You know everything except for what I got today. Should I reveal that, or should I keep it a secret? I think I'll tell you. So today I went to the community yard sales. Deb told me about it. I said, are we going? She says, I have a doctor's appointment. I say, okay, I'm rolling solo. And literally like the second one I went up to, there's a box of DVDs. And I always kind of look because I'm looking for games. But I saw a DVD in there that like called to me, speaking from a 90s kid's point of view. You ever hear of Street Sharks before? They're like rollerblading sharks. I mean, they're bizarre. And there was a DVD set in there. And I was like, this is not common. So I said, how much do you want for this? And she said, $1. And I said, cha-ching, bought it. Went back to the car, looked it up. It's like $30. It's like a $30 disc set featuring 40 episodes of Street Sharks, which I'm going to definitely watch before I sell. And that was my first acquisition. I got this little He-Man Masters Universe Hot Wheels for 75 cents. It's worth like $8. That was a nice score. I'm trying to think, what was the next thing that I got? I got a bunch of PC games again for 50 cents each or something. I got like 7 of those. I think I spent like $2.50. I can't remember how many I got. Maybe they were a quarter each actually. And then I got a couple more games. And then like the risky maneuver of the day of purchases, I got this giant bin of Beyblades. And I don't know if we have any Beyblade aficionados out there, people that love such things, but I have no idea what I'm looking at here. She said they're $5 for all this. And I was like, there has to be $5 here. I don't intend to like play with any of it. Although we could, because it came with like the arena where you like, these are like spinning things, like spinners that they shoot off of each other. It reminds me of something I had when I was a kid that was like Power Rangers, and they're like these tops that you spun and battled. But Beyblade is still a thing. Like I see them at Target. We just never went down that path. But I have in my possession a whole crap ton of them now that I have to somehow figure out exactly what they are and maybe see if I can maybe sell them as a lot or individually or do something with. But Greg's Toy Store is kind of popping off. It also helped too that there was another place that had a bunch of like newish like Happy Meal toys, but I found a few things in there that were like from my childhood. Like I found this Raphael turtle. I found Cobra, that's a G.I. Joe. I found a Transformer. I found a Thomas Trackmaster train, and then a bunch of Pez dispensers, like Disney ones and like Looney Tunes. And I said, well, how much do you want for these? And 10 cents. So I spent $1 there and got all this stuff. So like I'm building, hopefully, I'm building like a toy and game store on eBay, like selling things that are of my heart, things I'm interested in. The things I want to sell are like the things that that I would want to play with or that I'd want to keep. And I just like have this dream of doing a toy store. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I think that'll translate really well over to my audience too. Like if I document my buying and selling on there and like listing and selling, I think that'll get people excited to kind of come over and check out the store and see what I have in there, knowing that the money's going to a good cause, me, my wallet. Oh, I went to the bins this week too. Found a few things there. One of which was this HDMI switcher, which is perfect because it has like 8 different inputs for old video game consoles and things. It's like the world knew I was coming. And I bought this for $5. Turns out it's $80 on Amazon. So that was a huge win. I actually shot like a video for that from my car. And then I shot a video of me setting it all up. And I think I'm going to try to do like a little voiceover on it. I'm going to experiment with voiceover videos. I did have one person say they prefer like the real-time reactions and like being in the moment with me. But I feel like the voiceover stuff makes your videos feel way more professional and like more well done. Am I going for that? Not necessarily, but I want to experiment with it. So I thought that'd be a good one just to try it out. And then if it fails, it is what it is. All my stuff seemingly isn't doing so well now, but I'm having the most fun that I've had. I'm not going to get burnt out of this because I'm doing what I love. And it's impossible to do what you love and not want to keep doing it, if that makes sense. So that catches us up. Did I say catches us up to this moment? I'm doing the podcast now. And tonight I'm excited because we're doing Five Guys for dinner. The most glorious of, I'm not going to say fast food, but expensive food somewhat quickly. And then I got the new Astrobot game in the mail from Best Buy. It was so weird. Like Astrobot came out, super well reviewed. It's one of my favorite games for PlayStation 5 because it uses all the elements of the controller, the original one. The new one comes out, didn't even know it was coming out until the day it was released. And then I was like, I got to buy this. And wouldn't you know it, the same day, Best Buy gave me a $10 certificate to use with them. So I'm like, well, perfect. So we got that. Going to be playing that up with the Clark Man this evening, and I just think it's going to be a glorious thing. And that takes us into this weekend, and we got 2 days. Am I going to be super lazy this weekend? Probably not. I got things to list because I've been buying, and I got to do some more selling to keep the wheels in motion. I'm having fun. I'm enjoying everything that I'm doing, and I'm thankful to be able to do it all. Basically, like I think about that all the time. So that was my week and what I've been up to and what I've been into. Very much so. You cannot say that this was clickbait because it was. I delivered exactly what I announced, but we still have listener feedback left here. Going in a little late, dang near 40 minutes into this episode. Are you still with me? If you are, leave a like, and if you really are, come over and support us on Patreon. Have a little thing there where we upload videos. In fact, you can see last Friday, I'm not going to go there. I will not sing the song if you join our Patreon. Clark and I did like a little vlog together, and it was like a really good video. And I'm like, oh, I wish the world could see this, but I needed to give something to the patrons because they deserve it. So if you want to watch last Friday night, the vlog is up there. You can support the podcast that way. I know you probably won't, but I got to entice you somehow, right? So there it is for you. Let's get into listener feedback. Last week I asked, what's something in your life that you will always hold on to, whether you're ever going to use it again or not? It just means too much to you. Let's jump into it, starting with Janos. He says, hey, Greg, I buy and sell guitars on a hobby level. I also collect them, so it's always a struggle which one I keep for a while and which one I sell. I would be terrible at that. That's like me collecting or like selling puppies. I would just have them all. The one that I'll never sell is the one that I bought brand new in the beginning of 1999 when I was 16 years old. I started to play guitar in 1996, and by 1999, I had a band and we just started to have some gigs, so I needed a decent guitar. It's definitely not a top-of-the-line instrument, especially with today's standards, but in 1999, this Korean Samick, hopefully I'm saying that right, with 24 frets and a Floyd Rose tremolo, I'll pretend I know what any of that means, was a great guitar for someone who just started to play a bit more seriously. Of course, my rock star days ended in the mid-2000s, and as I had financial issues, I sold all my previous guitars and all my gear except for the Samick. I have many more serious guitars today, so the Samick usually just sits in the corner of our bedroom. Once or twice a year, I pick it up, give it a good clean, and play our old songs on it. It's also going a bit up in value. Nothing serious, but still, it's going up. But I'd never consider selling it. I regret selling my old stuff, but I was young and stupid, and I needed money. I'm still not the sharpest tool in the shed. Oh no, he's smash mouth. But I'm getting older, and I appreciate more and more everything from my past. Talking about guitars, I missed the commenting deadline on last week's episode, but it is insane what has happened to the guitar prices these days. Many of them went up 300% in a year or so. That's why trading with them is just more of a hobby for me. It's really hard to find a good deal these days, especially in a small market in a small country. Wow, I can relate so much to your message there, but not about guitars, video games. I traded in, when I got my PS2, I traded in all my PlayStation 1 games and console to GameStop. And they probably gave, or Electronics Boutique at the time, they probably gave me like 16 cents for it. And I was just like, I'm never going to play PlayStation 1 again because PlayStation 2 is out and I'm dumb. And I regret that because I'd rather have that stuff now than the 12 cents that they gave me that I probably like just gave right back to them when I bought a $60 Gran Turismo 3 at launch. But yeah, dude, I'm glad that you have that in your life and you still have that guitar because that's the one. I'm glad you held on to it. And there's no harm in that. I mean, maybe this is where my advice goes sour because it's like, if you have something and it's not serving you is what I always say, it's time to let it go, sell it or get rid of it. But in this case, that is serving you. It's serving the nostalgia, the memories. It's bringing you joy. I would say joy is serving, you know, if you can bring joy, which is why on a day where you're laying around watching NBA simulations on TikTok, you are being productive because you're producing joy in your heart. That's what I tell myself, though. Thank you for commenting on that, Janos. Next one is from Mr. Lego Builder, Mr. Lego Builder M. I think that may be a name, maybe not. He says, I like to watch hour-long videos. He's going to like the SLV, super long vlogs. Legos are my favorite to put together. In fact, I should say, I made a super long vlog this week for Patreon, but I don't even know, like, I don't know if anyone's going to watch it. It's like I was going through like the storage room and selling stuff and like boxing things up. And then it became a part of my luckiest day thing. And I don't even know where it's going to stop and where it's going to end. But that probably could end up being an hour-long video. It says, these videos make my day, but I like to watch videos that are edited and then posted the day they are recorded. That is like, I read that and I'm like, edited and posted the day they're recorded. Do you realize just how difficult that is? Like to make a video, you'd have to be like super like no life gang. Like to make a video, like say I do like my lucky day, for example, or like let's just say today, I went out yard selling this morning. So like I come home from yard selling, I edit the video right now, like immediately editing it, which I probably have like an hour of footage to go through to edit that down into like probably a 15-minute video. It's going to take a couple hours, right? Then to export that video, which takes time, to upload it, which takes time, and then get that all out to you in the same day, you're asking a lot, my friend. Like, that's crazy. But also, I'm like, what difference does it make what day you see it, right? Like, I could tell you that, like, I could just say a day in the future. Like, hey, guys, today is October 17th, and I'm out Lego yard sale hunting, and then I upload the video on October 17th. You wouldn't know any difference. What difference does it make if it's edited and uploaded the same day that it's recorded? And what do you get out of that? I'm very, like, respond back. I'm not trying to insult you or be mean. I'm just very curious, like, what difference does it make? Unless you, like, maybe you want to feel, like, in real time in the moment, like, almost as close to live streaming as you can get. That's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise it's like, who cares when the video is made? Like, the day that I fixed all my Ataris up and tested them out, that could have been a year in the past or a year in the future. It literally makes no difference unless it's something very topical. Like, hey, guys, today I'm going to get the new iPhone 11 and I record that on September 2024. That's definitely like, it's way out of sync with like the space-time continuum. But anyways, that's my tangent, my rant, if you will. What else did this guy say? He says, with this guy, I still have my Skylanders from 2011. When I first got into them, they were so much fun. Like how they come to life in the game, but now I stopped playing with them and I'll never get rid of them because they brought me so much joy as a child. I've got good news for you, J. Mr. Lego Builder M. Even if you did want to get rid of them, you wouldn't be able to find anyone to take them. I bought a whole package of these things for $5 at a yard sale a couple years ago. And I tried for like 6 months to sell them for $20 on eBay with free shipping. I probably would have made like $8 maybe. And then I was like, okay, these aren't selling, so I'm going to try to sell those individually. And I've literally have sold one of them for like $3. So like, yeah, you don't have to worry about ever selling them because they're just, I guess like you could throw them away or donate them, but nobody's ever going to buy them. So they're worth more in your heart than they are to anyone else, which is good. But if you want some more Skylanders, check out Greg's collection on eBay and buy all of them. I'll give you a great deal. Next one comes from Ray, and I'll even make a video about it and I'll upload it the same day just to sweeten the pot. How's that sound, buddy? Shake on it. Ray, the item that I would never sell. It's Ray and Sam, I love you guys, but I had to cut your comments down by about 80%. So we're just going to focus on the answering of the questions. I love your guys' response. Ray and Sam, I shout them out every week. They respond to literally every topic that I talk about, like amazingly. But I'm just going to focus on the question of the week in this regard. Ray says, the item I would never sell or get rid of, no matter what, is the hockey puck. I got a hockey game during Wayne Gretzky's first year as a pro at age 17. That game instilled a love of not only hockey, but a love of live sports in general. It has been a huge part of developing relationships with my family and friends over the years. There you go. That has a price that is there is no price. There is no price that you could ever sell that for until like someday like it's in your estate auction and like people are walking through your house and there's like a hockey puck sitting there and then they're like, yeah, $1, and then it goes. That's like what I see. So like, I guess if you go into these things knowing that maybe some of the things that you love, like I'm loving my 90s basketball cards at the moment. No one in my family loves 90s basketball cards. No one knows the value of them, which is almost nothing because they're 90s junk wax or whatever. Sometimes things can be worth something to you, like the Skylanders. Something can be worth something to you that maybe doesn't have monetary value, and that doesn't even matter. It's about what it means to you in your heart. That's the important thing. And that's what Ray's hockey puck means. And I hope that you, when you look at that thing, it makes you think of those times. And it sounds like it does, which is pretty darn cool, Ray. Next one, Sam. He says, there are a couple things from my childhood that no one could ever convince me to get rid of. Primarily, though, I think of my baby blanket, which I still use for my head, believe it or not, and my original Wii. The memories I have with the Wii are absolutely priceless, even if I have a Wii U with backwards compatibility. I love to death. Same. I have literally every console that I've ever owned in my life, including that original Nintendo from 1990, which still works. I lied. I do have one console that died. And if you guessed it was the Xbox 360, you guessed right. I've collected video game consoles for almost 35 years. And I've had one of them die. Microsoft, what are you doing? What happened? How did the Xbox 360 die before the original Nintendo from 1990? It's a big question. Maybe it's too much for Bill Gates to handle. Red ring of death, by the way. If you know, you know. Next one comes from Steven. Thank you guys for the comments, by the way. Due to me getting so annoyed with rising prices of streaming service and sometimes a movie I want to watch not being on anything, I've started buying discs again. It's also, oddly enough, improves the experience of watching a movie for me when I get to put a disc in and go through the menu. I like this a lot. In fact, I was thinking about how I used to go through like the special menus of DVDs and you'd watch like the director's commentary. And I thought I would do a Reddit search to see like what movies, maybe this can be the question of the week. I will say last week's question of the week did not hit with you guys at all. We got like 3 or 4 people that apparently have something in their life they would never sell. The rest of you have no nostalgia whatsoever. Hundreds of people watched and listened to that episode. No one has any nostalgia for anything in their lives. You guys are monsters. But Steven, though, he doesn't either, apparently. He just loves watching movies on disc. Maybe he has a movie that he would never sell because he has it on disc and he knows Netflix is never going to have it on there. But I want to go through and I want to find like the greatest director commentary of all time. And I want to like watch that movie and then watch it with the director's commentary and have a whole nother appreciation for the movie. If you know of a movie that's like that, go ahead and leave it as a comment. I dare you. Next one comes from Jenny. I'm being all feisty in this listener feedback. I'm having fun with this. I hope you guys appreciate it. You're like, man, he's getting pretty outlandish here. Sometimes I am. Sometimes. Next one comes from Jenny. It says, you were talking about walking dogs. I do. I want to do it like professionally. Rover is an app that does all things pets. My daughter is a pet sitter and works with Rover. You can do a lot of jobs or none at all, and Rover background checks all their pet sitters. There's a huge need for responsible, loving pet people. I looked it up, Jenny. I downloaded Rover and I looked for people in my area, and there are dog walkers. I'll say this though, every single one of them is a woman, which is interesting. And then the cheapest dog walk you can get in my area, and this is probably less than what it would be like if you lived in New York City or somewhere in a more rural or urban area. Cheapest one is $15. With like the highest rated one, this lady has like 56 repeat customers or whatever. She's charging $20 per dog walk. Dude, I'm going to be like, I'll do it for free if I can film it. I'll make more money making like videos of me going for the walks with your dog than Rover would pay me probably. That would be interesting. I'll put $1. I'll walk your dog for $1. I would end up with every single thing. Although again, like maybe in this situation, I think being a guy, people are less likely to hire you out because they want like a loving motherly figure to be with their pet. And the same reason, like when you take your kid to kindergarten, you most likely have a female teacher for that, because it's like you need like that warm embrace of like a mother more than like an authority figure. That being said, maybe if you have a pit bull and you need a guy that will like pretty strong that can like hold him as he's like pulling you down the road, maybe that's a thing. It'd be fun to explore, I think. It would be interesting, especially if I went in there and like just completely undercut everyone. I'm like, $1, I'll walk your dog. I'll have a GoPro strapped to my head when I get to your house though, so hopefully you're okay with that. And then we'll just walk around and I'll talk about what I'm into and what I'm up to on my podcast now as we go mobile as a dog walker. And that'd be really great because then I can make $1 from the dog walk and then $3 from the episode that I spent an hour making. Double wins. Next one comes from Owen. It says, nothing like a new Missing Pieces episode. Classy fella. I've been loving Greg's book talk section, and I want to recommend a book that I just finished called The Apollo Murders by astronaut Chris Hadfield. It's equal parts historical fiction and space thriller, and I think you enjoyed it quite a bit, Greg. Keep up the great work. Love to see it. That sounds like it's right up my alley, actually. Like that is sort of like what Project Hail Mary is, where it's kind of like based in science, but then like kind of out there too. I would probably enjoy that quite a bit. Book, I'm not going to say I'm not enjoying it, but after listening to 11/22/63 by Stephen King, I'm now doing Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, which is more of like him just telling like stories of his childhood living in Africa, South Africa. And like, they're interesting stories and people like are raving about this book, but it's not connecting with me as much as the thrilling nature of Stephen King. And I'm a little worried that that's like ruined me. In fact, I saw a Reddit post where someone was like, I played Red Dead Redemption 2 and I played Elden Ring and as my first 2 games. And now I literally can't play any games because they all are just like not up to that standard, essentially. Like you've had the best and then like you just can't replicate those. So I'm kind of at that point, but I'm trying to like get through this. I think my next book though, I think I'm going to do Chronicles of Narnia, the Chronicles of Narnia collection, which is like 1 credit, surprisingly. I want to see what that's like. And that'll take me back into the world of like kind of fantasy and stuff, which is weird because originally I always thought like I like nonfiction. Like I like podcasts where it's like personal journals, like what you're listening to now. In fact, Apple actually categorized this as a personal journal, which I appreciated. I don't really get into like the world of make believe and pretend, but sometimes it is kind of nice to go there when they're writing these characters, and it like sometimes fiction is more interesting than reality, which is not surprising. So I don't know. I was thinking maybe like after doing that long book and going into this story, I thought maybe it'd be nice to jump out of that and go into something a little more shorter and based in the real world. But I kind of want to go back into that reality again too. So I'm thinking about maybe jumping into another Stephen King book called The Stand as my next one, which is apparently when it was originally written was like 1,000 pages long, but then they made him cut it back to like 800 pages, but then they put out the original version of it. So I have no idea how long the audio of that is, but it would probably take me a solid month to finish it, which is a good thing when you're paying for Audible credits. So thank you for the recommendation. I'll put that on my list of things to read. I have not finished my Trevor Noah book because, like, I don't know, I'd like feel more interested in listening to my regularly scheduled podcasts than that, even though someone that's possibly listening to this right now did not put out a podcast this week. You know who you are. I'm waiting for yours to come back. It better. Next one and last one. This is like, I'm going to consider this the win of the week. This comes from Trace Kill TV, a blast from the past. He says, he or she, I'm assuming he, came over from Spotify to leave a comment. Classy fella. Not sure if you remember, but in September 2020, I left a comment saying, I listened while driving a 6x6 off-road dump truck. He's playing Mud Runner in real life. Well, recently I got my CDL and now I'm driving 18-wheelers, living my life dream. Currently, I'm only driving distances of 30 to 60 minutes in a 2000 International 13-speed day cab hauling grain for a farm. Is there any way that you could hire me as your apprentice? Because I want to do one of those runs. Forget the dog walking. Let me drive your truck for one day. I want to go through the gears. I want to have that experience. Do you realize you're living the dream? He says, definitely not the best place to make a career out of. What? But I'm here just to learn to shift and get comfortable with it. I see no problems there with that. I've also started playing American Truck Simulator on my MacBook. Which do you like better, real life or the simulator? He says, I'm not sure what states are on it, but I've heard that Indiana and states more east are there, which is all I care about. Sorry for the long comment. I have a lot of time to sit and wait in my truck. Well, I'm happy that you tuned in, and I'm glad that you're still around all these years later. Walked over from Spotify. He got out of his truck, walked over from Spotify, and he left a comment. And he's doing his thing, man. I know, like, you're considering this a jump off point to the next thing, but enjoy it while you're in it. Like, I think that'd be fascinating. Like, I would love to just drive a truck and see what that's like. Maybe in another life, maybe in the future, you know, I could be like an old man trucker working for Mother Truckers LLC. Life goals, guys. You know, I'm always finding new things to get into and up to. And I guess that's what makes this podcast great. There's always something around the corner, and you get to see all of the crazy things that enter my mind and sometimes stay there for long periods of time. Sometimes like they bounce around a little bit and then they're back out again. But it's great to do this, and I'm thankful that you all, or you, it was just me and you here. I don't know who all these other people are that we're talking about. Me and you, we're just hanging out here, having a good time, sitting in our truck, waiting for the grain to get filled up so we can drive and unload it. So on that, I'll see you at the grain mill. Hope you have a glorious rest this week. And as always, we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.